Everybody, I want to welcome you to our February 28th Leadership Council meeting. Thank you for your leadership and your participation. And as we continue our journey and making progress to reduce homelessness in Monterey and San Benito counties, let's go around, and if you could just introduce yourself and who you're with, and then we'll use that to take roll. Katrina or Elaine or the team will help us make sure we got a quorum by the end of introductions. And I'm Monterey County Supervisor Luis Alejo. I'm the chair of the Leaving Home Leadership Council.
I'll go next. I'm Roxanne Wilson, County Homeless Services Director.
And I'm Enrique Arriola, Deputy Director, San Benito County Health and Human Services Agency.
Donna Smith, Monterey County Office of Education, Homeless Children and Youth Services Program.
Hi, good afternoon. Gina Alvarez with CISO.
Also here, Javier Gomez with Supervisor Alejo.
Kurt Shockey with VTC.
Sarah Federico, Management Analyst for Homeless Services with the CAO.
Alexa Johnson with the Health and Resource Center.
Evangelina Ochoa with Community Human Services.
Tim Haven with Access Network and the care of the lived experience.
Keisha Lopez, City of Salinas Homeless Services Manager.
Hey everyone, Alyssa Kroger, Housing Program Manager, City of Pacific Grove.
Wendy Phillips, HERS, Monterey County.
Eric Johnson, CEO of R3.
Crystal Estrada with the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers.
Katrina McKenzie with the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers.
Kirsten Young with the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers.
Oliver Elbert, HMI System Admin, College Program Manager here at CHSP.
Damien Gonzalez with CHSP.
Danielle Francisco with CHSP.
Good afternoon. I'm Denise Cars, an HMIS coordinator with CHSP.
Derek
Hi, I'm Abrina. Go ahead, Derek.
All right. Derek Elders, City of Seaside, Family Community Support Program.
Abrina Ganadin, Grants Coordinator with CHSP.
Paola Chavez with the YWCA.
Elaine DeColony, COC Advisor with the Coalition.
Katrina, did you go already? Yeah, you did? Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I went. We are not at quorum just yet.
Okay.
We'll
talk about that later. Yeah.
I see additional people that haven't introduced themselves, at least when I'm scrolling through.
Okay, well, let me ask if there's any new people, because we do have members of the public who are invited to join these Zooms. If you're not a board member of the Leaving Home Leadership Council for a Continuum of Care, if you can introduce yourself as well, as we appreciate your participation and interest in these efforts.
Well, I would like to say hello, everybody. This is Zulika. I'm the Executive Director for the Housing Authority of Monterey County, and it is a pleasure to once again be on the meeting.
Hello, my name is Al Farley. I'm a case manager with the Village Project. I also work with the Housing Coalition.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else?
As always, with the Office of Monterey County Supervisor Luis Alejo.
My team.
Avila, intern at the City of Pacific Grove.
Great.
Raza Mejia with the Office of Monterey County Supervisor Luis Alejo.
I got my whole team on.
Barbara Dickinson with Interfaith Outreach of Carmel.
Hi, Claire Cairo, intern City of Pacific Grove.
Great. DG's in the house too. Thank you for joining us. Okay, if there's no others, well, if anybody adds on, we'll try to see if you guys could help us flag them so they can introduce themselves later. Let's go to any additions or modifications to the agenda. Katrina?
I have none. Would anybody else have anything to add to the agenda?
Okay, if there's none, then we'll just go on to item number 3. This is public comments for any items not on today's agenda. This is where we're going to give the our board or members of the public to speak on anything not on the agenda today. So we'll open that up. If you could just raise your hand at the bottom of the screen to be recognized, and we'll give you a couple minutes. Okay. Well, Wes White. Go for it.
Hello, good afternoon. Wes White, Salinas Monterey County Homeless Union. I guess the way we're treating people who are experiencing chronic homelessness has not improved. And it seems like this would be a body that should be concerned about the folks living outside, and the way the cleanups and health and safety days operate, is in one faction's interest, being like property owners, as in jurisdictions and private property. I actually had an encounter with one of the property owners because it's adjacent to the train tracks, while everybody's getting cleared off the tracks all week long. So they're basically losing all of their property, all of their survival gear. You need tent, you need some kind of cover, you need a shelter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Recording in progress.
Whatever weather conditions are, all through the year. Shelter, food, and clothing are basic human necessities that are going to have to be replenished and paid for by themselves. While all these institutions keep getting money saying they're going to reduce homelessness by how much? By 1? It's a horrible way to pitch a sales. For funding, especially when we're spending so much money. I saw 24 UP workers, and then Salinas Police and everybody's out there. Council members said that the problem is the health department, the Monterey County Health Services, is the one that forces the city to do these cleanups, when we have field outreach workers that should already be able to mitigate the trash. If that's really our problem, is health and safety, and the trash is really the biggest issue, well then let's state that in writing, and let's make that the policy, and show if people are housing ready and they don't have a blanket of trash around them, maybe they should get headline privilege. And you know what, that would make a lot of people wise up and say, you know what, I'm going to clean up my place too. So it's really about redirection and the way we do business. So please stop the sweeps. It needs to be a main priority in your policies.
Thank you, Wes. Appreciate your comments and your advocacy. Anyone else? Yes, Eric, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I'm just excited. Tomorrow, all day, there's a big conference with about 300 leaders from the Bay Area getting together, all to talk about solving homelessness, what's working really well, what's not. So and they're going to produce a video out of that I'll be happy to link everyone to, and kind of what those best practices, ideas, and so on are coming. So, but some really great leaders and some great models from the Bay Area that I'll be happy to share with. So,
thank you, Eric, for representing the area there. Anyone else? Okay, last call. If there's no other public comments, we'll close that item. And we'll go to our...
Luis, is it too late? This is Robin McRae.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin, please.
Sorry, I was muted.
We're flexible.
So, Community Human Services and Gathering for Women are sponsoring a special event to benefit Casa de Noche Buena on March 14th at 2 p.m. at Carpenter Hall, which is at Sunset Center in Carmel. And it's a community conversation about homelessness, featuring our very own Roxanne Wilson and Anastasia Wyatt. And the discussion will be moderated by Sarah Rubin, the editor of the Monterey County Weekly. We have a lot of sponsors from businesses in the community, and we're already receiving lots of RSVPs, so it should be a very lively discussion and good event, and you're all invited to attend. I'll try to figure out a way to put something in the chat box.
Thank you, Robin, for that information. Let's go to Roxanne.
Robin, I shared that with a lot of county folks today, so hopefully you'll get a good turnout. I also wanted to mention that the coalition and myself will have representatives over at the National Alliance to End Homelessness meeting next week. I will be facilitating a panel where we're talking about the most acute people who are experiencing homelessness and learning from other communities on how they've been addressing the issue. So I'm personally very excited to bring back all of the knowledge and inspiration that's gained from the National Alliance to End Homeless Conference. And I also just want to flag you all that there will be another one in Washington, D.C. coming up in December. So if you do want to go, I really do encourage you all to go, but it sells out within 24 hours. So as soon as you get the notice, you have got to be ready with a credit card because it goes fast. And that's it.
Thank you, Roxanne, and thank you for representing the work that's happening here. I know when you go speak, you always do a good job. Everyone, before we go to the consent agenda, I wanted to also let everyone know, make the official announcement here. Elaine and the Coalition of Homeless Service Providers sent out a press release not too long ago, but it was our announcement that Katrina McKenzie has been chosen by the Coalition of Homeless Service Providers to continue as our fearless leader, as our executive director. So just let me read the press release, and then we'll have Katrina say a few words. The Coalition of Homeless Service Providers announced that Katrina McKenzie will assume the role of executive director after a decade of service within the organization. Katrina was selected for the position in an interim capacity in October 2023, having worked closely with 4 previous executive directors, and the CHSP Board of Directors voted her into the permanent role earlier this year. Her journey within the organization began as an administrative coordinator, then as the management analyst for 3 years, transitioning into the role of finance and payroll assistant for 4 years, after which she was promoted to interim director of operations. She will celebrate her 10-year anniversary at Coalition of Homeless Service Providers next month, in March. Katrina is dedicated to advancing CHSP's mission to eliminate homelessness in Monterey and San Benito counties by promoting regional partnerships, interagency collaboration for a comprehensive system of housing for a diverse population. She approaches her responsibilities with deep understanding and respect for the community's needs, emphasizing the importance of elevating and prioritizing those who are unhoused and the well-being of the staff serving these individuals and families. As executive director, she brings a passion for strengthening our community and looks forward to close collaboration with the continuum of care partners to accomplish this. Ms. McKenzie is a proud native of Seaside, a native daughter here of our county. Beyond her professional endeavors, she is a devoted wife, mother of 3 children. She serves as a leader, teacher, board member of I know I'm going to get this wrong, Nahama Hawaiian for the Student, a local halau dedicated to fostering values of lifelong learning, community, family, and the essence and foundations of aloha. So with that, I want to pass it to you, Katrina. This is like the official thing with our board, but we want to thank you for your tremendous leadership, willingness to continue in this role and help us continue to elevate the work here in both of our counties. So let's give it a round of applause first, and then Katrina, we love to hear you.
Thank you so much, Supervisor. I really appreciate the warm welcome. This is something that I've been passionate for over the past, 10 years. As the press release states, I'm native to Seaside, born and raised here, and really looking out the doors of my office right now, feeling like we're responsible for those that are unhoused here. Being that these are now my people I grew up with, family members, and making sure that our youth, my children one day, and all of yours, are able to have sustainable housing in our county. So this is a big up to our Leadership Council, our CHSP board, and our amazing staff who put in the hard work. Without them, I couldn't do what I do, and I'm really excited for collaboration on an elevated level for me with you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Katrina. With all your experience and backgrounds, all the ins and outs of this the coalition. So it's always a beautiful thing, and I've always say this even on the county side when we see those who have come up the ranks and rose to the top, and all the relationships you have with the whole team. I think it's going to continue to coalesce as a group to get good things done. So I want to thank you and congratulations. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Right now, I'm still working on getting a quorum. I put out a couple messages out, so if we wanted to move along to maybe item
we'll go to
5.
informational items. Yeah, I text the mayors, all 4 mayors, and I know Lori Medina's alternate, Lauren, was going to be a little late, so she'll be joining us.
Yes.
I did text I believe the 4 mayors.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll skip over consent agenda. How about let's go into our point in time count update, which took place January 31st. So, Katrina.
Yes.
Just a quick point of clarification to Supervisor Alejo. Thank you for the text. Mayor Craig is now on the call. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I need one more. Welcome, Mayor Craig. Sorry.
Yeah, and I do want to thank all the volunteers who came out and helped us have a successful.
Yes, thank you. So that was my first point. Congratulations to everybody for conducting a very successful unsheltered point in time count. Every year we strive to get about 200 volunteers, and it's been a struggle in past years. This year, with the help of our amazing staff and community members reaching out, we were able to get 250 volunteers. So some people who wanted to join us this year weren't able to, and we apologize on behalf of all of our staff, but all census tracts were covered. We have 103 in Monterey and 11 in San Benito County, and every single one of them were covered. This year, for the first year, CHSP staff was able to participate on the actual count. So usually we're in administration portion of it, and we haven't been able to go out and do the actual count. And Kirsten Young, our grants manager, was out there trucking this track to count the unhoused. So, and we were able to also keep coalition office open from 8 to 5 for the first year ever as well. So usually we're out in the wee mornings. We usually start 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's when the administration portion starts. But being fully staffed and having everybody here, we were able to keep the doors open and work continuing throughout the day on our point in time. So congratulations to you all. We are looking to have our report out by August, and we're in the midst of reviewing all the surveys. So our goal for the surveys to give the story behind the numbers was 400 for Monterey and 100 for San Benito. Access Support Network, Applied Survey Research picked up the remaining surveys yesterday. So they'll be reviewing that data and giving us back some preliminary data if we met our survey goals, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So these pictures here were taken at United Way Monterey in Salinas. So this was our Salinas Deployment Center, and this is us briefing, and we have, I believe this is YWCA staff here reviewing their census tracts. So next slide. So our sheltered point in time count. Oliver, do you want to go over this slide?
Sure, yes. So CHSP has been conducting, I would say, data accuracy right now with the agencies that have already submitted their forms, but we still have a few agencies that have not submitted their forms. So just kind of reminding everyone that these submissions must be completed and forwarded as soon as possible so we can meet our HUD deadline. And then there's some other things that I've noticed just between our LSA, SPMs, and our other past reports. There has been some inconsistencies in the program inventory, which has caused some errors within a systems level for reports. So we pretty much just need programs to identify when their current funding streams have expired and to provide us with a new one. So that way we can know what programs are going to be included or removed in future reports. And this accurate inventory and funding will help us stay compliant, transparent, and will assist us with the performance evaluation as well as consistency. LSA, the longitudinal system analysis, SPM, the system performance measures.
Thank you. Next slide. Does anybody have any questions on a point in time or anything? Funding.
Sorry, really quick.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to tell Oliver there's a few things that are listed in HMIS as DSS, and even my license is under DSS. But if you guys are having a problem because we outsource all of the work, please let me know, and I can hunt those forms down for you guys. And then the second one is that I'd hate to do this to Robin and Anastasia, but Robin and Anastasia were like really great at reviewing the report before the final report was distributed, at finding inconsistencies and errors. And I'm sorry, Robin, you know I've always relied on you for those types of things. But yeah, I think that we have found inconsistencies post the public distribution of the report in previous years. So I just wanted to flag that as like a, something for your consideration. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. I do love Robin's attention to detail and accuracy in finding all of the things. So I will keep that in mind if Robin is willing. Okay, moving on to our COC funding awards. Kirsten Young, our grants manager, will take these slides over.
Thank you, Katrina. So next slide, please. We'll be going over the 2023 COC Funding Award, and here is just a quick snapshot of our eligible to apply for, the annual renewal demand coming in at $5.4 million, the amount that was applied for, which we include both the permanent supportive housing bonus and the domestic violence bonus, and here's the actual awarded amounts. The annual renewing projects at 5.8, and permanent supported housing bonus at $366,000, and the domestic violence bonus at $317,000. There is no annual renewal demand for the bonus pots funds, and the funds are actually outed to the ARD if they are in fact awarded. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have our application type total. I just provided a review of everything that was approved at 100%. So we have our renewal projects, which was a total of 19 renewal projects. 100%, of course, of the bonus projects were funded, and there were a total of 5. The YHDP projects, we had a total of 8 of those, along with our bonus projects coming in at a total of 5, which breaks down to 1 DV project for transitional rapid rehousing will provide a total of 8 units and 40 beds. 2 permanent supportive housing bonus projects, which will provide 5 units and 5 beds each. And we have 1 permanent supportive housing, which is an expansion project that includes 1 unit and 3 beds. And finally, 1 rapid rehousing project, which will provide comprehensive case management for 10 single women, allowing them to exit into 10 permanent housing units. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have the Continuum of Care competition debriefing. We just received this information yesterday from HUD. So we'll go over what was scored was on these 3 topics: the high priority COC application questions, the scoring summary on 5 sections of the application. Then at the very end, I'll provide the overall scores for all COCs, including CHSP scores. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we are. Here's the breakdown of the score, the maximum scores that you can receive, along with a CHSP score. And here it does show the COC's participation in the HUD's nationwide debrief competition and the scoring summary. The COC lost 24 points on the system's performance, and there was another area for system improvement, which is the coordination with housing and healthcare scoring. It looks like 7 points were missed out of a possible 14. However, the COC did score a high 25.5 out of 29 points on the coordination and engagement, and 25 out of a possible of 27 points on the project capacity. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have our HHAP updates.
Wait, can we hold for questions?
Sure, yes. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
yes, thank you, Katrina.
It's okay.
So did we have any questions?
Yeah, and I just want to note here that getting these every year really helps us see how we can improve our systems across the board. So we're seeing here coordination with housing and healthcare is something that we were low on overall. And this is something that we will draw our focus to for this coming year on how we can improve that. So looking into our committees going forward, we'll start to bring up these topics of how we can address these. And we have a question from Elaine and then Roxanne.
So I just wanted to note for folks on the very first slide on this topic, you might have noticed that we were awarded more than we asked for, and that is because so much of the package is permanent housing that is tied to the FMR. So what HUD has you do is ask for what the fair market rent is at the time of the application, which would have been last summer. And then they adjust the grant upward to the new FMR, which takes effect in the new federal fiscal year, starting October 1. So everybody everybody that had any grants that paid rents got upgrades to their grants.
Thank you. Roxanne?
I also wanted to just mention that there's been a lot of work on bridging housing and healthcare with the CPI, which is the organization that the managed care plan is using to implement CalAIM here in our community. So I would love to add some information to your next COC application on some of the work that's been done, and I know that the agency is Camden Coalition. They've reached out to Katrina so that Katrina can start being invited into these conversations as well. So there's a lot of good work that's happening to help bridge that, and I'm excited to offer up those interventions to your COC application.
Thanks for that help, Roxanne. Keishla?
Oliver addressed my question in the comments. I was wondering a little bit more about the system performance, because that looked like another area that needed to be worked on. But I know that you guys are addressing it with the CARS essentially reinvention. So I think you guys got it covered. I just wanted to know more. So thank you guys.
I would love to add a little more to that, and it's going to come up again in half 5 because the state looks at some of the same performance measures, and I do think that is really something where the leadership of the council will be important in this coming time period, and some of the measures are how long it's taking people from the time they connect to the system to the time they move into housing, how many people are entering homelessness for the first time, how many people return to homelessness after they have obtained permanent housing. So on those measures, the COC and the portion that exit to permanent housing, the portion that exit from streets to shelter or housing. So those are areas that the COC will want to work on strengthening, both for HUD funding in the future and state funding now.
Great. Anyone else on this part? If not, we can go to the next part then, Katrina.
Yes. And real quick, before we go here, I don't know if you want to go into this yet, but we have achieved a quorum.
Yeah, so that was we just finished item number 7, the continuing care funding announcement and analysis. And I want to appreciate everybody's kind of suggestions. We have a lot of brilliant minds in this Zoom. And so any way to improve, so we could improve our scores in future years, I'm sure that's very much appreciated by us all. We want to keep striving to be the best. But we have quorum now, Katrina?
Yes. So Damien, I'm sorry, if you can go back to item slide 2.
So we'll go to the consent agenda, and that was the December 2023 Leadership Council meeting minutes, and then we're going to talk about alternative appointments.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Can we address that a little bit, Elaine? Because this is new in our governance restructuring and our new document. We created the opportunity for appointment for all the voting board members, and somebody had their mic on. But Elaine, can you explain this and the forms that went out? How many do we have now, and how many do we still need to get in from all our voting leadership council members?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Alejo. So you all, and today was a good example, made the determination that when leadership board members are unable to attend themselves, to have an appointed alternate that could attend on their behalf and is registered with the coalition and is getting the board meeting announcements and materials so that they can stand in and business can keep moving. So we, in January, the governance committee met, determined that even though there will be some changes to the council membership when the new governance charter takes full effect after the June annual meeting, it made sense to nominate alternates now and to have board members sign the conflict of interest form. So you've gotten these forms a couple of times in connection to mailed out a couple of weeks ago and then in connection to reminders in the meeting. And it looks like we've gotten about 9 or 10 of them back now. Damien, do you know the exact number?
I'm currently getting that number right now, so I'll definitely provide it in the chat for everybody.
Okay, great. So they're coming in, but it's at about a third of our members. So we encourage all of you, even if you haven't named an alternate yet, to go ahead and sign the conflict of interest, and you can provide an alternate at a later date. But at this point, these members have provided the names of folks who are willing to serve as alternates when they are unable to attend the meeting. And so at Supervisor Alejo's recommendation, we thought that you could approve these names on the consent calendar.
So that we could keep building a list here, make progress on proving that what we have in now, and then the next meeting we'll keep adding to get a more full list of alternates. But each of the members get to choose their alternates. We put them on the agenda so that they're kind of just ratified by the body as a whole. It becomes like the official roster of the alternates. And I want to thank everybody. And if you haven't got it in, don't feel bad. I just got mine in yesterday. I said if we have a meeting tomorrow, I better get mine in. So don't feel bad. But it is in your email. It's a one-page form. You sign it, and then your alternate sign it. It's accepting to serve as the alternate. And then you could just email them in, take a photo, email that photo in, whatever is easiest. But some of the electeds, I thought it was best if I'm a supervisor, get my counterpart, Wendy, who serves on the homelessness committee with me. So maybe some of the mayors could choose another council member of the jurisdiction to serve with them, for them when they cannot attend the meeting.
I know that's what Mayor LeVar is working on, so he's reached out to his fellow mayors to identify alternates. So yeah, some folks are still working on it.
Right. Okay. All right. If there's no questions, then we could take a motion just to approve item 4A, the minutes, and then B, the alternate appointments that we have so far. Could we have a motion in a second?
I so move. This is Roxanne Wilson.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it. Robin.
Thank you, Robin. And then if we could just all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Or any abstentions? Seeing none, we'll deem those approved unanimously. Thank you. Now we could go to item we've done number 4, number 5. Now we're on number 6, the HAP, which includes HAP 5 and HAP 4. And for those who may be new, HAP are the state funding that we have come in. Some money goes straight to the large cities, some comes to the county, and then HAP money also comes to our continuum of care. And this is the process of how we utilize those funds.
We are in the process of developing the HAP 5 application. And what our jurisdiction is doing, this is a new addition kind of this year, is all 3 jurisdictions that get funding apply with a single application, even though they get their individual awards. And the state is requiring that you formulate a regional plan. They call it a regional plan, but it's actually filling out the application and answering their questions. So it's not like the Lead Me Home plan, but when the state is saying regional plan, they mean that the jurisdictions, the counties, COCs, and in some places the large cities, that's not the case in this COC, formulate a regional plan that they jointly commit to together by executing an MOU between them that says we will implement the regional plan. And the plan needs to be developed by actively involving public stakeholders, and it needs to include all 3 of the entities, as I said, the COC, Monterey County, and San Benito County, and be published on the respective websites. And it will require formal approval from the Leadership Council. We are bringing to you some recommended ideas and questions for guidance. The HAP application is due on March 27th, as you can see in the bottom corner there on the slide. And we are working furiously to pull this together, to have it go its rounds through county councils in San Benito and Monterey and up to the Board of Supervisors. And we will then be wanting to circle back to the Leadership Council to also vote on the plan. So we thought, so we'll need to call a special meeting in March, and Chairperson Alejo and Katrina and I thought it was prudent to let you all know the directions that are emerging and the staff's draft recommendations on use of funds, and get your feedback and guidance as we continue to refine this package that will be a joint application from the 3 entities. So next slide. So this little chart in blue, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but I think the key point here is the state divides this hundreds of millions of dollars between these 3 major entities, the largest cities in California, the counties, and the COCs. And so the awards were announced, or the allocations were announced earlier this month, and the COC got $3.18 million. Then you can see Monterey County got about 2.5, and then San Benito is going to get just under $500,000. And so, next slide. So these are the things that go into the regionally coordinated homeless plan. And the plan has to articulate the roles and responsibilities of each jurisdiction. It has to talk about how it has been performing on the state measures and what it intends to do to improve its performance. It needs to address equity on a number of fronts, including racial equity, but also other ways in which certain subpopulations of people experiencing homelessness might be marginalized or have less access to resources. So an equity improvement plan, a plan to reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness upon exiting institution, plan, and this 2.5 is where each entity talks about how it's going to use its dollars and how those dollars pair with other dollars coming into the region to address homelessness. And then connecting folks to all eligible benefit programs, and then the actual memorandum of understanding that will be signed by the three entities and describing the development process for the plan. And I think this council is aware on that development process that there were multiple community sessions held, survey responses, or surveys where the community was asked how to prioritize things. So what we want to spend some real time on today are the two highlighted elements of the plan, actions and strategies that we want council's insight and feedback on to improve performance and to use the funds. So next slide. And I apologize, these are kind of dense slides. So the first performance measure is how many people are accessing services. And one of the things that we're asked to look at in all of these measures is if there are variances across races and ethnicities. And so these comments here speak to the strategies and speak to the potential racial disparities and how those strategies connect to funding. So on this one, the goal is really to continue to try and make sure that a larger and larger proportion of people experiencing homelessness in the region are connected to services in some way. So at least our interpretation is the goal of this is for the number to go up because it means more people are known to us, they're getting connected to services. So the strategy there is to expand. The strategy that the COC is primarily responsible for is expanding street outreach and CARS access points for assessments and referrals. And so the funding, you'll see when you see the funding chart Katrina's going to go over, continues to fund outreach as it has in prior rounds of HAP and continues to use system coordination dollars or system supports dollars, I think it's called, to fund CARS. And then do want to note that for Black folks and Native Americans, they are accessing services at lower rates than other groups. And so one of the themes that you'll see here is it's going to be really important to do racial equity and anti-oppression and intersectionality training for outreach workers so that trust is being built and connections are being made, and that we would fund with COC planning dollars. But it's a strategy we're talking about in this HAP plan. And then the second 1V is about unsheltered homelessness. And again, among Black or African Americans, Native American and Alaskan Natives, and Hispanic or Latinx folks are experiencing higher rates of unsheltered homelessness than the general homeless population. So again, this training that we mentioned for outreach workers in the first one is going to be important for interim shelter workers as well, so that projects are accessible and welcoming and places that folks feel safe and comfortable and can trust that they're going to get assistance. Next slide. So system performance measure 2 is the number of people accessing services who are experiencing homelessness for the first time. And that the goal of that is obviously to reduce that. It's much less traumatic and costly to prevent people from entering the homeless services system in the first place. And so in previous rounds, the plan had talked about expanding homelessness prevention assistance and looking for potential other sources. This time around, the plan, and at least not in rounds 3 and 4, there was no HAP money being spent on homelessness prevention. The staff has at least initially proposed that this round, which is likely to be the last round and may run out, is a good place to do prevention funding, because typically one-time funding and not ongoing funding. And it could be a real chance to impact this number of people becoming homeless for the first time. And again, you can see the groups, Native American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders, that are disproportionately higher rates of those folks among first-time homeless. And so the strategy would be to focus prevention outreach in those communities. And then for measure 2 was people entering homelessness. Measure 3 is people exiting homelessness to permanent housing. And right now, your system performance is about 26% of people in the system are exiting to permanent housing, with the lowest rate among Native Americans at 16%. And so the strategy here would be, one of the strategies that the COC can focus on is housing first training and really pushing the narrative that everyone's ready for housing. They may need supports to stay in housing, but they're ready to not be homeless. And expanding the availability of housing. Where I think we want some feedback from the experts on this council is with thinking through. Permanent housing was the most popular, highest priority use of funds across the survey takers and the stakeholder conversations in making this plan. The coalition is not an organization that is set up to invest in and manage construction funding. So the building and creation of units is not necessarily a good fit for the coalition's use of the HAP $5, but we know that there are these projects that were started with other rounds of HAP through the Home Key program, and that they are really facing some challenges. So is it appropriate for the coalition, the continuum of care, to allocate its dollars in some kind of way in support of those projects? Or is there another option, like a rapid exit fund that is one-time assistance that helps people that need a small amount of money to reunite with family, to move to housing that is nearer to their job, and they just need the travel and move-in money, or they need some help to rent a room or something like that just to begin with, and that those might be a good use of these funds. So this is the thing we're putting in front of you for discussion. Next slide. I want to just sort of run through the whole thing, and we can circle back to anything, and I'm getting near the end. The average length of time is another measure. Right now in your system, the average length of time people are spending homeless, according to the data the state is looking at about you, is 180 days or 6 months. So looking at ways, again, to shorten that time. Rapid rehousing is a good tool for getting people more quickly out of homelessness and into permanent housing with declining subsidies. And again, this, my apologies, typo here. So this should have said continue funding rapid rehousing in this one, and considering adding that rapid exit fund, which is shorter time assistance, so that people are not languishing in the system for a lack of $500 or $1,000 to make a move. The returns to homelessness is relatively, this is measure 5, relatively low in your system and has been stable for a couple of years. It is not currently a strategy the COC is focusing on. The county partners are looking at that and working on that through their workforce investment partners, etc. Next slide. System performance measure 6 is successful placements from street outreach. And you will see probably a shocking number, and maybe a number you're not confident in. 17 people moving from outdoors to interim or permanent housing in the last year. This is the data the state has about you. And so whenever you're doing performance analysis, you have to ask yourself the question, is this a data quality issue, a performance issue, or potentially both? And in this case, it might be potentially both. That more work needs to be done to help people not just provide outreach touches, but actually getting outreach to move people indoors and probably tracking when that happens. And yes, Robin, and if I don't speak to that, yes, we definitely are going to share the PowerPoint slides and can share additional information. And then, so again, emphasizing housing first and racial equity training for outreach workers and shelter workers, and really focusing on getting folks who are living outdoors inside. And, Wes's really eloquent comments at the beginning of this meeting are real, this is data that kind of speaks to what he's saying. It doesn't feel like it's shifting out on the streets yet. So our use of funds, continue street outreach and continue funding interim shelter and continue to ensure improving data quality so that we're clearly tracking results and we can be confident that the numbers are an accurate reflection of our performance. So those are kind of what the state is looking for. Our opening bid, if you will, on how to use the money and what we're going to try to do and accomplish. And I think the next slide is going to be Katrina talking about going over, how we are, our initial thinking on how we're going to spend the money, and then we're interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, Elaine, before we go there, you have some questions and a lot of comments on the chat about what you just talked about right now, the 17. Obviously, we always strive to do better, right? But these are important because the state is looking at these different measures, and so I'm going to go to Roxanne first, and then maybe Keishla might want to add in her questions as well. Go ahead, Roxanne.
So first, that's very much a data quality problem. And I will say that is because it's difficult for outreach workers to collect data inside of HMIS as it is. A lot of data is being collected outside of HMIS and then having to go back and update. So I think that's great that you guys have an outreach committee where you can really dig deep into figuring out what's going on. I know in some communities there's this competitive nature of who gets to claim they house this person, but that's never been our way of doing things in our community. So I just would love to hear more about what the outreach teams think is going on, because we know people move from unsheltered situations into interim housing and permanent supportive housing, and we have many examples of that. One of the things I would like to ask is, have we considered repurposing some of the unused HAP funds from previous rounds? That I know is a really finicky conversation, and I'm sorry to the service providers for bringing this up, but we also have obligations to spend, and if it's not being spent, it does look to the state, having been in a million conversations with the state, it looks like we're not spending our money, and it looks like we don't need it. So it's easy for the governor to go back and say, well, we don't need it, they're not spending it, so we're taking it off the table. And I really think that this body should take into consideration ways for us to start exhibiting the need, demonstrating that we need it. The third thing I wanted to ask is the HHIP Landlord Mitigation Fund. I know that the Continuum of Care was awarded money from the Managed Care Plan. I would assume that contract is going to come to an end fairly soon, and I don't know. But if it is there a way for us to use that money for prevention? And the only reason why I bring this up is because the service providers need this money to keep our current system operational. So to take money out of that seems like it would be detrimental to many of our providers. So again, I just want to bring that up for consideration. Thank you.
Just to touch on the HHIP funds, we did ask for an extension on that, and we are trying to get our landlord mitigation policies and procedures started and going. But these are great points that you brought up that we need to look into. So we'll definitely seek direction from this body to see how you guys would like to move forward. We did give some tentative or some deadlines for our HHAP subrecipients to start spending down, and we were hoping to have that information for your guys' consideration in our August meeting, to let you know where we're at and that we've tried our best to get funding spent, but here we are, and then start speaking about reallocation. So I hope that this body will agree to give them a little bit more time and then move forward.
Yeah, and before I go to Kish, I did want to just reinforce what Roxanne said about utilizing the funds. We have to demonstrate the need, putting it to good use. Some of the getting people housed, it takes a lot of hand-holding, right? With that, just finding the housing, dealing with all the things that come with the security deposits, credit checks that property managers want. But we saw what's happening with MHIS, Prop 1 next Tuesday. A lot of that was driven because Sacramento was looking for our counties using their MHSA funding, and because there was a lot of reserves in counties, then they did legislation to redirect that money. So it's just the nature of the beast in Sacramento. So we always got to be cognizant. The more we're spending down and showing that we're putting it to good use as intended, the better it is for our COC. Keishla?
Thank you, Supervisor Alejo. So I just wanted to say that I definitely think that it's a data quality issue, as Roxanne pointed it out. I think, in my experience working with street outreach programs and also with the Emergency Solutions Grant, it is one thing that I really learned is we as funders need to understand agencies' processes that are implementing practices to utilize HMIS in the field, and we need to get familiarized with it so that we can standardize it all throughout the street outreach programs. And it is an opportunity to talk about it in the outreach committee, but there's just been a couple of turnovers in staff, which makes it complicated, that I actually think that it needs to be at an administrative level before reaching boots on the ground street outreach training. So I just wanted to share that, just to add that.
Yeah, and I want to say when I looked at that number, I assumed it was a data quality number two, or a data quality issue primarily. And as Roxanne and Supervisor Alejo so eloquently said, if it says 17 to the state, it says 17 to the state. So we definitely want to make sure that the numbers the state is getting are accurate reflections of the work that is going on in the community, because if you can say it's a data quality issue, but the state may not buy it. So it's one we want to fix for sure.
Definitely. Okay. You want to go to then the funding plan?
Yeah. So here is our initial funding plan recommendation. We have the left side here of the eligible activities in the dark blue, and I just want to highlight that the system support that funds are coordinated entry like other like prior rounds. We have the second column, the survey rank. So this is the HHAP 5 input sessions that were taking place, and these are how the community, in conjunction with the service provider network and those with lived experience, have prioritized the eligible activities. So we see here that, as Elaine had mentioned before, permanent housing is the number one, what everyone's asking for. So we ended up allocating 30% of the whole pot to permanent housing solutions. So most of these allocations are consistent with Hass Brown, but rapid rehousing, maybe a little bit smaller. Outreach is given given the performance and strategies that have been reviewed by Elaine. Let's see if there's any other high points here I can point out. And just really going over what Elaine was talking about earlier, CHSP just really isn't in a place right now and are equipped with managing a major construction program. We have done so in the past, but these were things that were kind of already set in place and moving. We would need to get stronger in that aspect of what it takes to manage and oversee funding for construction. But would like to hear more about what the board, the leadership council thinks when thinking about how we can support projects like Home Keys and considering an additional plan for rapid exit to assist people that are exiting into homelessness.
Katrina, I would just add, as I know we're running out of time here, we got about 20 more minutes to get through the rest of the agenda. But just to add, I think for all my colleagues on the board, I think we need both here, right? Obviously, the rapid exit is helpful for those families, but we also know that what is hardest to find here is affordable units to be able to house our homeless residents. And I know this body is not in the construction business, but I know the housing authority could be, or a nonprofit, as some of our funding in the past have helped renovate units that were out of commission, and they're able to be put to use to house our clients. But what I'm most concerned about is the hotel conversions, the Project Home Keys in King City and Salinas, because as we have seen in the news, Shangri-La has caused those projects to stall, and the California Attorney General has filed a lawsuit to try to make sure those projects get back into public hands and are put for the use that it's intended. But there's going to be some help needed here so we can get these projects in King City and Salinas across the finish line and get our residents, open them to our residents that we're trying to serve and put into those units. So that's different from other previous years because we haven't had this crisis with somebody that we thought would, some entity that we thought was going to be a good player here has turned out to be, has caused a lot more problems to accomplish these goals. So I want to make sure that we're putting some money so we can help both these projects, Project Home Keys, to be realized and to help those families that have been waiting to move in. We'll go to Mayor Craig, then Roxanne.
Yeah, I just want to say we have been named in that lawsuit, so I'm been somewhat muzzled, but I just want to acknowledge that the city is working with other cities in California that we're also working with Shangri-La, so that we're working very collaboratively with multiple cities, including King City, throughout the state, just to try to work with the state of California on that issue. So you can tell I'm threading that needle carefully from not saying anything, but also just trying to give an update on it. But it's terribly unfortunate, and the city is just doing everything we can to ensure that our residents have some level of protection and housing. So thank you.
And Kimberly, before I go to Roxanne, I would just say I know the governor is very concerned. He doesn't want he wants these to be a success story under his leadership as governor. I know the cities have, not only yours, but other cities, been in touch with Housing and Community Development, the state agency, and sometimes in litigation, other parties are brought in to hopefully facilitate that all the right people are involved to get to the solutions as well. So that I can share that. Let's go with Roxanne.
While I do understand and respect that the coalition is not developers and doesn't speak the language, I do just want to mention that if it wasn't for the Leadership Council, those home keys would not have been competitive at all, because we had coughed up $2 million from this body to support Salinas and King City. Now, with that being said, I do want to say that I doubt that we'll have enough competition to fulfill that $954,000. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the cities. So maybe we could consider reducing that dollar amount to ensure that more money goes into interim housing. I do know that the coalition historically has funded several interim housing projects, and they will continue to need those that funding. And I also just feel like prevention and shelter diversion is incredibly important. I know that ERAP helped a lot during the pandemic in slowing down the people falling into homelessness. But I also would like for the coalition to explore possible reuses of other fundings, historical HHAP fund allocations, and also possibly HHIP. And that's all I got to say about this.
Thank you. Elaine?
Well, I was just going to see if I could kind of offer a potential summary, but I am hearing that Roxanne is proposing to pull prevention from this list. I will say that the Leave Me Home plan explicitly calls on to invest in prevention, and the state is tracking on it, and there isn't at the moment an infrastructure to respond to prevention. But I was going to suggest that if we wrote that permanent housing like flexible enough that it was not all 950 sticks and bricks, but some of it was one-time rapid exit assistance but in hearing also Roxanne to go back and look at the amount of dollars that are have been committed to interim housing and drawn down for interim housing, because this is partly these numbers are a result of prior spending and also not use yet of some of the spending and rethinking it. So we can definitely revisit all of that.
Yeah, let's go to Robin and then Keishla, because we still have to go with these other couple agenda items.
So, Elaine, can you clarify, is there money in the plan or funding in the plan allocated for temporary shelter, emergency shelter operations?
Yes, that's the interim housing line.
Okay. I do think that's really important. I know the emphasis is on permanent housing, and we need so many units. It will take years to build, in my opinion. And in the meantime, we still need to shelter people. They have immediate needs and can't be told to wait until we have enough permanent housing for them.
Agreed. Keishla, you had your hand raised earlier, and then we'll go to Zuleika.
Thank you. I was just going to echo what Roxanne was saying, that I think it's good to reassess where we are with the spending, because what I heard was we're not spending enough according to the state, and if there are eligible activities that spend faster, we might want to explore those options. But yeah, I just wanted to add a comment to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Zuleika.
Okay, hey, thank you, everybody. I do think you need to look at what you've done in the past, especially if you've had funds left on the table. I don't think a decrease needs to happen in permanent housing. If anything, I would be hopeful that it would increase because one of the reasons that it takes so long to build is because of the gap in funding, and programs like this can help to fill that gap, and we can actually put up units. So that is something to consider as well. And then, HUD is kind of pushing away from transitional housing. And so if you have interim housing and you have prevention and shelter, I'm still kind of new, so I don't really understand the total difference between those. Is that something that could be combined, or is it two totally different services?
Kind of different.
Yeah. Let's go to Kurt. And then...
Just a question. I thought we already solicited letters of intent and proposed funding using the original percentages, though, for HAP 5.
It's for HAP 4, which could be a good segue, Supervisor Alejo. Yeah. We gathered all the comments. This is very useful, and the staff can take this back under advisement, and you all will get to vote on this in a special meeting in March, and we're obviously working with the county partners to come to complementary strategies on this spending.
I would encourage our members, though, if you have any feedback, to email or reach out to Elaine or Katrina, so that it could be taken into account, because I know we're short on time here. Kurt, you had something else? Otherwise, any other comments? Quick comments here. Okay, let's go to, now we're going to have round 4. The previous round of state money.
Yes, okay, so HAP 4, the request for local proposal, was just released along with the press release on February 9th for the remaining available funding of $2.2 million. We did hold, or previously we held our mandatory bidders conference, which was on February 15th, which opened up the opportunity for all of the agencies who did attend to submit a letter of intent. Of those submitted, there was about $6 million in funds being requested, and across the board, there was 18 LOIs that were submitted. The funding recommendations will go to Leadership Council's meeting in April, and below on this chart, it shows the requirements for all of the disbursements and allocations. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Leadership Council has already obligated $944,000, and here's the full breakdown of those funds. As you see here, the $50,000 went to King City, $255 to CSUMB Che, $223 for admin entity costs, and 159 to support the governance of the COC committees and operations, and finally 255,000 for management of the coordinated assessment and referral systems, CARS and HMIS. And that completes the slides. Did you have any questions?
Any questions, anybody, on this?
Just a really quick.
I wanted to confirm with Kurt, that's what he was referencing when he asked the question.
About the LOIs, yes.
Yep, Elaine, thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick question. If I'm reading this right, 600,000 of round 4 has already went to the coalition. And then for CSUMB's outreach, when does that contract end? Do you know off the top of your head? I don't want to spend too much time on it.
When does it end?
When does it end? Or did it already end?
Kirsten, are we in contract with Che already?
Yes, I believe it's June 2027.
Okay. All right. Just
and I think for this one they fully expended.
Okay. Thank you.
And then just really quickly for HHH for round 4, so we had the $2 million available, and we got a request for about $6 million. So just putting it out there that it's going to be a very competitive process. Okay, next slide. Okay, quickly, next slide. We have a couple minutes. Get your conflict of interest forms in, everybody. You can submit it to Damien. Next slide. Okay, briefly, we have reached out to the community, and these are the names that came up in recommending them for the monitoring and evaluation committee. If you guys have not heard already, Maknor, our former governance coordinator, has resigned last week, about 8 days ago. So Elaine and myself will be taking over these committees while we redistribute duties amongst the coalition members. So if we can get a vote here, I don't know if I can ask that.
Yes, and can you just explain to everybody, because this is a new committee, what monitoring and evaluation, what do they do in a sentence or two?
So they're going to set up the policies and protocol for evaluating individual project performance and doing monitoring site visits, which is a requirement of HUD. And the other thing that has been, and this will also be the committee that's looking at system performance. We talked a lot about that today. And it will draft the grievance procedure for the system and send it up to the Leadership Council for consideration.
Great. So this is who we have recommended so far. There's a couple of spots there that still need to be filled, or actually all of them. It's all. These are the 5 nominees, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Perfect. So if everybody's good with that, if we get a motion to approve these members of our new monitoring and evaluation committee. Need a first and a second to get through this. Anybody?
This is Phyllis Capps. I'll move.
Thank you, Phyllis.
We approve these.
All right.
Second the motion.
Okay, and Enrique, gracias. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay.
I abstain. I have to abstain.
Okay.
Do you have to vote for yourself?
Yes,
can I?
So honorable.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can, Tim. Thank you.
Okay.
So it's unanimous now. You don't have to abstain.
Okay. Thank you so much. Can we get the next slide?
Item number 8. We're on number 9. Cars.
Yeah. Cars. Yeah. Let's blow through this, Oliver.
Oh, you know it. I'm very straight to the point. So, cars overhaul, there's going to be 3 main buckets we're talking about. Purpose, work to date, and the improvements underway. So, back in fall of 2023, we have selected Homebase to do our annual evaluation. HUD does require an outside evaluator. So, in fall, we selected Homebase. This was a unique opportunity for us because we were able to engage in deeper conversations with stakeholders for further insight and understanding. which has led us to a steering committee to refine the evaluators' recommendations. So this will start next month in March. This will include HMIS funders, stakeholders, case managers, program directors, executive directors, clients with lived experience, as well as other frontline staff. Next slide, please. Our work to date. So we have so far submitted a quantitative data analysis, which contains information but not limited to assessment location, length of time in program, as well as ADAPT scores. We've had stakeholder interviews that were conducted earlier this month between February 12th and the 16th. We had a recent lived experience focus group that was conducted on the 22nd. We had a total of 45 attendees, 11 in Salinas, 9 in Marina, and 25 in San Benito County. This also, like I said, it was a breakdown of frontline staff, which was conducted virtually. On the 26th, we had management staff conducted on the 28th, and then we've had CHSP staff conducted on the 27th, and then we still have a few more focus group interviews to conduct. Next slide, please. Last but not least, are improvements that are underway. We met with a leadership council member back in December who pretty much just gave us a lot of feedback on how the master list and the referral process was actually not working for San Benito County. So we adjusted the criteria for how clients populate within that current master list, as well as trying to improve a new one based on the new overhaul policies and procedures and potential assessments that we may develop within the next few months. As of yesterday, our coordinated entry team has contacted 716 inactive clients that were generating on the master list. Of those 716, 502 have successfully found housing and are in stable condition, so they were removed from the master list, just kind of based on basic contact principles and practices. We have an assessment vulnerability feedback as well from the focus groups, so we're measuring feedback to visit our BI-SPDAT scoring process. Maybe we can come up with something a little bit better locally. Something else that we've been working on is the referral outcomes. Again, looking at what was going on with the results in San Benito County, forced us to take a closer look into the system as a whole. So we decided to streamline a better referral pathway for better enrollment outcomes, meaning clients that are looked at on the master list, they have a higher acceptance rate in the program. So just in 2023 alone, we had a 19% acceptance rate. And within the last 2 months of 2024, we've been able to raise that up to 45%. Last but not least, we've also been developing case conferencing that's led by the CAR staff to meet with other agencies to determine the intake process for declined clients when they were referred to a program. Next slide, please. Then that will bring us to our youth CARS update. Danny, do you want to knock this out real quick?
So the Youth CARS policies and procedures and the tool itself was adopted by the Leadership Council back in December. We hosted, or Homebase and CHSP hosted a virtual orientation on February 12th, which was just providing the network an overview of the process of the revamp of the Youth CARS assessment tool. We hosted an in-person assessor training where Homebase was on site on February 14th. There were 32 attendees from 9 different agencies, and most of which were YHTV funded. Assessors were instructed to stop the use of the TASE-FDAT to transition into the Youth Coordinated Assessment Tool, or the YCAT. And after the in-person training, assessors were instructed to reassess youth and young adults with the YCAT to get their updated scores. And the YCAT is now published and live in HMIS as of this past Monday. And I think that is it for me.
Does anyone have any questions for our CARS update? What's been going on? They've been really busy and working really hard to streamline this stuff and really dig deep into our data and how we could improve our systems simultaneously while building out the whole overhaul. So thank you, team. Next slide.
That's a lot of. And I want to just thank Oliver and Danielle. Thank you for your report and everyone who's involved in holding those meetings, those trainings. It's a lot, and I know we're at the end of our meeting, but I do want to commend your hard work for us.
Right. Look who's there. Who's that? So Supervisor Alejo had sent this over to us. He had went down to LA to speak on behalf of CSAC with Senator to support Senator Alex Padilla's Housing Act for All Act, alongside some really amazing, important people. And if you want to just hit that link real quick, we can share it with you all.
1 second, sorry, let me just stop screen sharing real quick.
And thank you so much for sharing that with us, Supervisor. We love to see it.
That legislation, it's California Senator Padilla, Congressman Ted Lieu has the companion bill in the House of Representatives, but it's trying to create additional buckets of federal funding to complement what we do for permanent supportive housing and services in our counties.
Yay.
Oh man, you got to share those down. It's okay. We will share the link with everybody else. But we were really proud, and thank you for sharing that with us, and for always just being a champion on homelessness and housing for everybody, being not only in Monterey and San Bernardino County, but clearly across the state.
And I did open up not only representing the executive committee of CSAC, but also our local continuum of care, which is often a voice. The COCs are always brought to the press conference, so. It was nice to represent as we're pushing. They're pushing to reintroduce those bills and move them forward. Thank you very much, everybody. With that, last item, we will close. Thank you for your leadership, your service, and we'll see you at our emergency meeting in March. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.